us about how they learned their craft. And to share some of the lessons of their epic journey, please welcome Iris de Rode and Fulk Joubert.
Thank you. Ah, il faut prendre le truc.
C'est moi qui le fais, du coup.
Tu veux?
Ouais, merci. Hi everyone. Thank you for being here and listening. Before the beginning, let's just say that we're so happy to be here. Thank you so much to Alibis for interaction, for thinking of WATO. It's an honor, and I really hope you're gonna enjoy what we're gonna show you and learn some stuff. Let's move forward. We will try today to make you live an experience, even from your seat, to experiment what is it that we are trying to create through WATO. Let's go forward. Just before, remember that we had to interact. So if you want to ask questions or write stuff about this conference, you should use the official hashtag of Alibis and ours, WATO. And then I let Iris present the rest.
Yes, so hello, I'm Iris. Our main objectives of this presentation we will hold will be three. So the first one will make you dive into the WATO universe so that you know what WATO does and to really make you experience this, since we're in this experience presentations. So the second point is that we really want to reveal some of our secrets. So how do we organize the parties? How do we do that for the budgets or social media and so on? And so we will offer you our favorite communications weapons as well.
Just before we dive, we need you to do something, just for us. I'll count to 3, and then you'll take a deep breath, and then maybe we will make you dive into our universe. Can I count on you? Yes. 1, 2, 3. You know what we're talking about. Before we talk, let's present ourselves. My name is Fulk. As you can see, I'm a bit crazy about costumes, theme parties, and let's say movies in general. I was, let's say just about my background, that I was studying into a business school, like lots of French. And very quickly I thought that I should move to association projects where I could find a passion and finally define a talent, because I think I got a talent to gather the people and live the dreams I saw. That's for my part. Let's talk about Iris now.
Yes, so I'm actually a researcher. I do PhD research on international relations and history, but I won't talk about that today, of course. In WATO, I have a more advising role. I work on every project with Fulk, and most of the time I have an outside view, since it's not my main work. It's always good to have other opinions and so on, and I work on all the projects in general.
Today, Iris will be here to helped me with this conference because, as you will soon see, I'm always really deep into my projects, and it's hard for me to take an overview and to remind me that we're here, for example, in Sweden and not in my office with all those French codes. So, because Iris is Dutch, she knows the international point of view of what we'll see now.
Yeah, and that's why we decided to make this presentation as an interview. So I'll ask full questions on his company to make everything more clear to you.
Which is a challenge.
So, okay, let's start with part one. So what is WATO?
So WATO, I think it's the best way to present it will be in video in a few seconds. But first, WATO is overall an adventure, an entrepreneurship adventure, created with a few friends that had the same objective: change the nightlife in Paris, create some refreshing content on the internet, on events in Paris. Let's go.
We'll show some videos so you can really understand what we do. So here's the next.
WATO is a creative and, let's say, young communication agency in Paris. We have a few specialties, but our main goal is always to build a unique experience. From Facebook to the final cab, it has to be amazing. That's our goal. Let's say, so our specialties are create an amazing teasing that from the first click really make the people curious. Then we try to find very special places, very atypical, and with those places, we transform them to make very immersive experience.
Yes, and so what are your specialties?
On events, just told you about the creative content, making pictures and videos. Most of you are party or event organizers. You must have seen that on the social networks, making just a Photoshop out of nowhere, even if your creative, your designer is good, it's always less powerful and less efficient than if you make real pictures. And I'm talking about pictures that when people see it, they will really ask themselves, like, how did they do that? How they do that? Mm-hmm. Like, I never saw that. I'm really curious. I want to know more about.
Okay, so why did you? I'm sorry.
Something I'd like to ask you about social networks. In the audience, how many are on Facebook? Okay. In this part of the audience, how many of you receive more than 5 invitations to an event per day? Okay. So just to give you an example, in Paris, in my networks, it's around 40 to 50 invitations per day for events. So can you imagine like the concurrency? You really have to do your best to try to make the people think about your event, you know? Whoo, I'm here. So that's a real challenge, and that's what we're trying to explain you today, how we manage to do it.
Yeah, to pop out of all the rest.
Exactly.
Okay, so why did you decide to create WATO?
You'll see it's a nice story that has different parts. So first, let's begin with the crisis of the nightlife in Paris. In 2009, I was getting out of my business school, and suddenly there was a kind of political issue in Paris after the 70s, where the disco was on the top, after the 80s, where clubs were the place to be, after the 90s and their raves. There was something in the air saying, okay, the nightlife is boring in Paris, maybe you should go directly to London or to Barcelona or Berlin, of course. And on the top of that, with the new laws about smoking in the clubs that was not allowed anymore, all the neighbors were claiming that the clubs should shut down, and like it was really a shitty area, let's say, a shitty time for clubs and nightlife in Paris. And there was some associations screaming it loud, like, our nightlife is dead, go to another city. That's what's written on the sign. So it was awful, and I thought I could do something with that. I'm not the only one. I'm a member of a new movement, but this really talked to me.
And so what did you do to look for new inspirations out of Paris?
Right after my school, I didn't feel comfortable to start my company directly. I wanted to do like what you're doing today. I thought maybe I could interact with some people around the world, because they're doing crazy things that I'd never heard about. So I decided to create a project called the World Party Tour that was 7 months around the world, experiencing the best, some of the most impressive events in the world. But worlds are always less efficient than a video, so let's see another one.
This was the World Party Tour Folk, a really serious research project, of course. So what were the main lessons you've learned out of all those festivals?
So there were some serious lessons from this project, if I dig really down.
In your memories?
So it was first that the place where we party is really important for the sensation. Every place has vibration, and of course a classical club is made for it, so those vibrations are less interesting than going, for example, in a Serbian fortress for a party, or in the middle of the desert, for example. I would say that the way you welcome your guests is more important than the rest, because they will only think about this way. They change their mind, like they were thinking about their problem of the day, and then suddenly the event begins and they are in another world. And the last thing, even if the party is cool, even if they are like kind of hypnotized by music and alcohol and everything, you need to focus them 3 times, 3 happenings, theater happenings during the party, to make them remember that they're here, and it's amazing that they're here, and they're not only drunk and lost.
Okay, so and then you went back to Paris. You were discovering new places yourself to organize your own parties there. So how did it work?
I was back from this amazing journey, and I really had this kind of pressure after seeing those great festivals, saying, okay, now on, I cannot do anything in a club. I need to find those great places, but inside my city, in Paris, which is a real challenge because, of course, it's a big city. Of course, there is secret places everywhere, but they are secrets, so you need to find a way to find them, and that was not my job. So I've been trying to connect with the people who know where those secret places are, and through this I discovered this trend you must know that is called the urban exploration, which is not only breaking through forbidden or forgotten places, but create content in those places. From London to Sydney, even in here, I'm sure this exists. And if you don't know it, I advise you to check Crack the Surface, which is a London creative content on the web, on Vimeo.
Can you give us some examples of the places you chose?
Yeah, so I began totally randomly in the Parisian forbidden catacombs that are networks of carriers abandoned that are under Paris, 30 meters under Paris, and you have 300 kilometers of those carriers under Paris with bomb shelters, with so many
abandoned castles.
Yes.
As well.
The abandoned castles, abandoned railway stations. The city is full of those things, but when you are living a normal life, you don't pay attention to this. So I did pay attention, and I get connected to those people who know everything.
And so then you decided to create your own company doing this?
Yeah, finally I found one place that really interested me and that was able to receive my friends. This was a very secret place, and the only way to get there was to take a Zodiac, you know, those speedboats, so on the River Seine, so I really liked the idea. And as you remember, I was saying that in Paris, or I'm sure it's the same for you, like the Facebook invitation has no more value. So I decided to do it all over, to twist it and to change for a paper invitation, but not only sent by post. I thought that it should be a very special moment. When the invitation gets to you, you cannot be like on your smartphone and iPad and watching TV, doing your stuff. No. You have to be concentrated on what I say and on how cool is the party I'm preparing for you. So I decided to come dressed up with a cape in the offices of my guests. Around, they had their colleagues around, and this strange guy with his capes comes and take out a letter, a burned and dripped up into the coffee letter, with the seal
very
of
old letter,
the seal of the conspiracy, because this party was conspirating against easy parties. So I had all my text and stuff, and the only reaction I had was, "Thank you, thank you." And all the colleagues taking pictures.
Yeah,
and then in the end, they really knew that it was important, and they get interested into the project.
Yeah, so 3 years after that, after your first one, now you've got a real company. So how many people do you work with, for example?
It's still a startup that is on a big adventure. Every day counts. We are only 6 people working now at the office. And of course, as every event, like when it's coming, we're 10, and then 100, and then 200 on the D-Day. But it's weak, and
still growing.
It's growing.
Yeah.
It's we have, like, if we're in a plane, we have green lights coming from some parts of the plane. Like, for example, the fact that we are here today, it's a green light for me.
Okay, and so what's your main philosophy, WATO? What makes you different than others?
Well, as you could see into those videos we saw, we're trying to. I'm thinking that there's cinema here and even there, and the frontier, the line is really thin, and people really love that we break this frontier and that they enjoy, like if they were into a movie, from the moment they see it on Facebook till the moment they are inside the party having fun. To give you some idea of the evolution of WATO, in the beginning it was only like dinners for 30, 40 people, then 200, then 1,000, then one of the last party was 3,500 people. In the beginning it was really simple, simple. To get this dinner possible, we had to dig with ropes into really strange tunnels during a few hours, but still it looks simple, and this is really hard. This is a skate park, for example, with 60 tons of sand all over to make this party look like Arabic, and all those 3,000 people are dressed up into Arabic clothes. So there's a big evolution. It's still the beginning of the adventure, but I'm happy that it's already on this way.
Yes, and so about the evolution, about the figures on who will attend your parties, who's your main audience?
So the most interesting thing to see is that in 3 years we've been building a 24,000 people community on Facebook, almost the same with newsletters and stuff like that. In the beginning, everything was totally illegal, no insurance, so doing it really like let's do it. And now, because we're beginning to be famous, we need to be really careful with everything we do. And that's interesting to see. Just how did we manage this? Some piece of advice: every content you produce need to be into your networks, so your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram. It's your content, not them. It has to be exclusive. Only you can make it. And for example, during the first year, we only had 700 likes, and the press, some famous press in Paris, was knocking at the door like, maybe we could speak about what you do. And I was like, it's totally illegal, we cannot. And finally, when I said yes, directly it was 2,000, then 10,000, then 15,000, then today it's 24, almost 25. But it's only coming from the press, and even international press from now on. And the other thing that is interesting is the videos. The videos are really important to make the people dream and come into what we do. And in the beginning, it was around 5,000 views per video, and now it's around 40,000 views per video. So that's interesting to see that some people of our community even more are excited about our content than the event. They wait more to see the next trailer than the event. Let's go forward.
Yeah, and so about your budget, how do you fund your parties, events?
Well, just to give you those figures, we're on the third year, and it's almost 500,000 euros. Of annual sales, but how do we fund? How do we fund this money? It's we sell tickets, we sell drinks at the bars, and as we will talk later, we're not really good at making a lot of money out of these events because they're here to make people talk about us. But we accept also business contracts to launch brands or stuff like that, or even create publicities. Advertising for companies, and this helps us to survive with what we do.
Yeah. Okay, and so now we can finally focus on one main project, so called the Victoria Shelter. We would like to show you, to illustrate this as one case study, so that you can understand how we organize a party, how we produce this, and so on. So let's go. So first of all, how does your project start? How do you find the place, so this unique place you want to organize your party in?
So we talked about the urban exploration, the research, reading books, meeting authors that are speaking about mysterious places. On this one, about the Victoria Shelter, I knew this bomb shelter was existing for a long while, and one day I saw that they were doing a kind of paintball inside, and so I knocked at their door saying, "Oh, it's really cool to do some paintball. Why don't we do a party or a dinner? I don't know." And they said yes, and they enjoyed so much the idea I'm going to present you that they said, "Okay, it's going to be free for you. Do what you want with the shelter. We don't care. Let's just leave this party together." And it happens often.
And so you have a theme party. So how do you define your own theme?
Some people whisper to the horses. I whisper to the places. I can hear what they are trying to say to us. And into this exact place, the bomb shelter, it was screaming that we had to do a 40s theme party and play with all those codes that are kind of stereotypes about the Second World War. I mean, only talking about the nice part of the Second World War, those costumes, this era, like the parties into London during the bombings. The life was still going on, in this kind of stuff.
And so then you need people to organize it. So you need your own team. So can you give an example? For example, in this abandoned bunker where there was really nothing, how did you install electricity, for example?
Yeah. So when I remember what Joanna said about the pyramid of Maslow, you know, those needs we have. Well, in this kind of place, you are even downer than the lowest part of the pyramid. There's absolutely nothing, and we have to create it. To create a world that is really comfortable, in which you are taking a lot of pleasure, and this is a lot of work. So you find the people that have all those costumes in their garage, you find the people who are able to create electricity, to think about all the stuff I'm not able to do myself, and then we gather a team and we launch the project.
Yeah, so you create a huge, team and decor and theater and so on. And I think we have to move on since there are not that much minutes left. So, we spoke a bit about the budget, so I think that's okay. I think the most important is your community management. So how do you invite people to come to your parties? I think we spoke a lot about it, like with the videos, but maybe it's important that you really describe your ideas on it again.
Yeah, so I just said before that I think the frontier scene between cinema and events, we need to focus on those objectives. These are exclusive contents, and overall make them aware that something big is coming. The worst thing when you're an event planner or a party organizer or any kind of marketer is that you've been working so hard on the content for 6 months and spending so much money inside, and when you put it on Facebook or somewhere no one cares about, and you feel alone and you want to go away. This is awful, and I don't want to leave this, and I don't want you to leave this, so I've been focusing on who's good, who's really good at make the people gather and focus on those social networks. And in France, the best guys are, it's a kind of trend that there are people that make humor on the internet with their camera in front of them. And it's quite simple. They just say, okay, tomorrow at noon, I launch my next video, be there. So that's something just people will schedule it. They will be there at 12. And if you ask them to share at 12 tomorrow, they will. I mean, if they like what you do, they will. So
yeah, so you create exclusive events or just to launch your own content.
Exactly. First, we need to use cinema tools to make the people feel really strong sensation, even with those videos. So directors, actor, costumes, everything is like in the cinema. Maybe not budget for now, but one day maybe. And we need to integrate the key messages in the content so that people know them, and that's it, I think.
Yes, and so how do you create the experience for your customers? Because I think that's the most important here.
Well, let's go forward and show with the image
yeah, and
how
then you
it
can
works.
explain.
Le gouvernement français, après avoir demandé l'armistice, connaît maintenant les conditions dictées par l'ennemi. Il est par conséquent nécessaire de grouper partout où cela se peut une force française aussi grande que possible Moi, général de Gaulle, j'entreprends ici cette tâche nationale. J'invite tous les militaires français des armées de terre, de mer et de l'air. J'invite les ingénieurs et les ouvriers français spécialistes de l'armement qui se trouvent en territoire britannique ou qui pourraient y parvenir à se réunir à moi. J'invite les chefs, les soldats, les marins, les aviateurs, les forces françaises de terre, de mer, de l'air, où qu'ils se trouvent actuellement, à se mettre en rapport avec moi. Vive la France, libre, dans l'honneur et dans l'indépendance.
So, about this content, before launching it, for example, we needed to show it offline. Gather all our community in a room like this one, for example, and say, okay, tomorrow at noon, I will need you to help us on that project. This content you just saw, it took us a lot of time, a lot of energy to gather the association specialized into this, etc. Help us, we need you, okay? And then what you're gonna see, no one before you saw it. You show it, you just lived an experience. That's it. Then online, with all the newsletters, things, you gather everyone, and the press, the media, get the content just before everyone, so they can all at the same time share it. So that's the beginning of the wave. Otherwise, nothing happened, and you have no one in your room, and that's sad.
And so then you have your ticket sales. So how do you organize that?
So with what we just saw, we make the people dream. Now the second part is make them buy. So how do you make them buy? I think we all use the same tools, but that's very important. The illusion of rareness. For example, we always begin with only 300 pre-sales tickets that are cheaper, and we say, okay, you just saw the video, 2 days after, we will have the first sale, only 200 tickets, or the number you want. It will be at noon, and I can assure you that at noon and 5, everything is going to be sold, if you made your job properly. And people really like it, the fact that they need to put it in their schedule, they need to think about, they need to speak with their friends that this is going to happen, so they have to wake up and pay. So everyone enjoys, and the organizer also. So that's very important. Attends, juste 2 secondes, reviens. Excitement before the party. To make this energy coming out, the fact that people get to rent their costumes, it's also important because they make their selfies into the rent offices. And even if you're not a direct friend of the organizer, you see that there's a move in the social networks. So that's important. And help your first fan to create their own pre-party is also important to make everyone talk about.
So you really hope to create a huge buzz around your party so that everyone will talk about it and come.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's too hard to...
So I think we'll just talk briefly about this. So how do you create the whole experience during your own party? Yeah,
so about this party especially, what you saw, what the customers saw into the video is that there were some trucks from the Second World War and some accessories, etc. So that was what we swore to them, like, you're going to enjoy a very specific experience. And in real, it was the goal also. We grabbed them at the subway with those trucks. From the subway to the party, they were living like a Kamenov movie in that truck, so that's a very strong experience. And then only cinema decors were waiting for them, and then, I don't know, fake General de Gaulle making them singing the Marseillaise, and then you get in the stairs, and inside something different is happening. So there's a swear, and there's a reality, and it has to be on the same wave. If we want to show you how it ends.
d'information. Veuillez écouter tout d'abord quelques messages personnels.
Well, thank you for listening. I think we really need to move out from this stage, even if now you know that I could stay here for long and sleep here, maybe, because I like to be here. But, well, thank you for everything. I just want to say that everything is possible. It's not a matter of budget. It's just how far can you push your dreams. That would be my conclusion, I would say.
Thank you very much, guys.